Bloody puddles. We were just introducing bloody puddles here. Okay, page 67, send an angel. And we're going to enter into a thing here that's very occult. And occult is not what, you've been taught. It just means hidden. Something that's hidden. Let's think of something hidden. Cult. Let's shoot the bull. That's a hidden meaning to that. That's a cult. You're not going to shoot a bull. You're going to have a conversation. There is something hidden in that phrase, let's shoot the bull. There's something hidden in the phrase, 3 sheets to the wind. He shot his mouth off, kick the bucket. All of these things do not mean what they say. So when we look at something occult, we look at something hidden. And in addition to that, looking in the Bible, you're looking at cosmic law. It's very difficult for the fundamental mind to take this today, but this whole thing is astrology. And I don't mean astrology in the way that you might think of it as somebody telling your fortunes on the boardwalk. I'm talking about understanding where all of this came from. All of the material in the Bible was written in the stars before it ever made it into the book. In the book of Job, it talks about Pleiades. It talks about Orion. It talks about Arcturus. It talks about Mazzaroth, which is the 12 signs of the zodiac. Well, it couldn't do that except for the fact that those things were named and in place before the Bible was ever written. And all of the stories about virgins and crucifixions and altars and all of these things are stars in the sky. They're all names of stars. And so the things that you see in the Bible actually came from the stars. And that's why you have when the Christ, who is the sun star, makes his appearance, he is discovered by who? The Magi, which were the astrologers from Iran. So you look for things that are hidden. And if you look on page 67, you get to the book of Exodus, and you're in Exodus chapter 23. And if you look at Exodus chapter 23, and if you look at verse 20, it says, "Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared." Now, let me tell you a few things about the word angel. The word El is a god. It is an Egyptian god. The god El is from the bull Mithra cult. And I say bull because that was the supreme animal of that particular cult. Where in the Jesus cult it was the lamb, in the Mithra cult it was the bull. You were saved by the blood of the bull. That word El means the power within, and that's why they used the bull. Of course, it becomes part of that word that we understand, Ra, which is the mind, Isis, I-S, which is the spirit, and that goes to make up the word Israel. When the spirit and the mind are in harmony, it produces the power within. And that's why you see all of your angels, their names end in El, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, and all that, because it's talking about power within. Now, in the English context of the word, it is actually a play on the word angle. And it's talking about an electromagnetic field that comes from space, that comes from the cosmos, and touches your brain. If that angle hits this way, you think one way. If it hits this way, you think another way. In the Piscean age, which was a competitive age, it was coming in this direction and people were thinking in that way. Now suddenly something has happened. The angle or the angel has shifted. The influx of information is coming from a different direction and people are starting to think differently. Ideas, and even you feel differently. Things come into your mind and you say, I just don't feel that way that I used to feel. Yasser Arafat, who was a terrorist, turns out to be somebody who wants to make peace with everybody because the angle has shifted. The angel's message has shifted. You could take a little mouse, they hook an electrode up to the brain of a mouse, you hit it with a shot of electricity, the mouse starts chasing a cat. How's this possible? Because it's the way the electricity touches the brain. And that's what this whole thing of living in the universe is about. You live on a planet. The planet is in the middle of a solar system. The solar system is affected by all types of electric and radiation, electromagnetic fields, and they influence the way that people think. So where it says in here that I will send an angel before you, what's being talked about is this. This is you and me. Okay, this is the left hemisphere of the brain, the carnal mind. That's where our antennas are focused. The angel or the angle that comes into you from the right hemisphere of the brain, which is the God side, comes over here. And this is the beep, 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 kind of like the thing that a pilot will hone in on before, comes out of the fog to land at a runway. This is the thing where a goose knows to leave Canada and fly south. The goose is, here's all of a sudden, and he's having a great time, and it's eating whatever they eat, whatever gooses eat in Canada. And all of a sudden it starts hearing something. Beep, 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 beep. And it's time to fly. And they just fly. Because that which is of an animal, as soon as the instinctive need is there, the antenna switches, the message is delivered. A dog knows how to give birth. A robin knows how to find your backyard the same way it did last year. A goose knows how to get to Acapulco, and all of these kind of things happen because it plugged all of a sudden. But you and I have a choice. While this message is coming here from Pegasus and coming from Aquarius and coming from God to this side, we're over here with our antennas and we're listening to the bishop, or we're listening to the evangelist, or we're listening to all these people who don't have the slightest idea what the heck they're talking about, but that's where our antenna is. And what we've got to do is get into the meditation and shift our antenna there and get homed in with this beautiful instinctive thing from the pineal gland of the brain. And listen, that's the angel. So the angel is pulling you this way, the mind is pulling you that way, and then in the center of this we have a thing called stress in the middle of it. Tension, where the heck am I? Because we all we can figure out is there's something that I want to do, but I can't do it because I'm obsessed with what's going on here. And so it says, I'll send an angel before you. It's a power that pulls you to the right side. But this side, there's another power. And look at the power. Look at page 924. In page 924, in the book of Romans, we're going to do quite a bit of this today because I have to show you this, and you're going to see some things that surprise you, but I have to show you this so you can see with your own eyes. In Romans chapter 8, verse 7, it says, the carnal mind is enmity against God. It is not subject to the law of God, neither can it be. So here you have the left side of the brain, which is yours and, completely out of whack, doing whatever it wants to do. And here you have the right side of the brain where the message is coming from, that what we call God, the electromagnetic fields of the universe. So there's this pull going on. Now there's an interesting thing. On page 67, I want you to keep your finger there all the time because that's where we're going to be focused at it. In Exodus chapter 23, in verse 20, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way. And that's a very important part of this. Okay, to keep you in the way. Notice that. Now, page 782, Matthew chapter 7, verse 14. And in Matthew chapter 7, verse 14, Jesus makes a statement that the way is narrow, and few there be who find it. Straight is the gate, narrow is the way, and few there be who find it. And how long did it take you to find it? How long did it take you even to realize that there's something special inside of you? I was telling folks last night, 8 years ago, we talked about the pineal gland of the brain and the secretion of melatonin. And all of a sudden now, everywhere you go, melatonin, melatonin, melatonin. It's a big deal. It was a big deal in 1995, as Pegasus will be a big deal in 1996. And it comes from understanding and touching the way. There is within you a point. There is a highway. There is a place where suddenly you pick up that signal that's radiating down from the universe. There's a place within you where you turn, you cast your energy to the right side, and you touch, something happens. There was an interesting thing that occurred in Acts chapter 9, verse 17, and it says Saul, who became, Paul, it says, the Lord Jesus appeared to you in the way. In other words, he had an experience. He had an out-of-body experience is what he had. But something touched him. Something touches you as suddenly you come to grips with inside of yourself this strange thing that starts to pull you into new ways of thinking. Go to page 586 and leave your finger right in that part where we're at. And there you see Isaiah chapter 11. And in Isaiah chapter 11, verse 16, the prophet here says, and there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people which shall be left. There shall be a highway for the remnant of his people. And that word remnant means that which remain. To remain is to stay within the influence of this divine consciousness, this cosmic consciousness. And so here then this highway, it's so difficult sometimes because we are so accosted by the traditions of church. We're so accosted by the traditions of government, by those things which are taught to us in school, that we never even for a minute can understand that the true essence of power in the universe is contained in this holy, magnificent thing sealed deep within the center of our brain, this holy place which is off limits to the thoughts of the mind, where we experience this, what Buddha called nirvana. We experience this which is absolute nothingness. And it says in the Bible in 1 Thessalonians, we which are alive, meaning we who touch the divine mind and remain, and that is to stay, to persist in your meditation. How do you spell persist? Persist. We who are doing that shall be caught up together in the clouds of the unseen spirit, to meet the Lord in the air. And that's where I want to stop for just a minute. To meet the Lord in the air. The New Testament of the Bible is written in Greek. All right? The whole thing is Greek. And it's filled with Greek mythology. You can't get into the New Testament without running into Plato and Pythagoras and all of these people. And in Greek there are 5 stages of consciousness. The lowest stage is earth, which is your mind. The second stage is water. The third stage is air, where there is no thought. The fourth stage is fire, which is spirit. And the fifth stage is the new mind. This is baptism. This is how a lot of people who have misunderstood Greek mythology have done what they've done to us. And what they do to us in order to fulfill this progression is they'll take you down to a creek, they'll take your body to a creek, they'll stick your head in the water, you'll come up into the air, and they'll tell you that you've been touched by the Spirit, when all you've been touched by is water. Your head's wet. That's all that's happened. You got your head wet, you might have got the flu, you might have got polluted or whatever happened to you, but you got nothing as far as understanding. What this is talking about is you must take your mind into the meditation. You must rise to the second stage, which is water, which is the truth. You must come up into the third stage where there is air, where there is no thought, and then you will be touched by the fourth stage where there was fire or there was spirit. This is also a problem in fundamental Christianity that prophesy about an Armageddon. And they'll say fire is going to come down on the earth and destroy the earth. And so they look for a literal fire. And that's how David Koresh, got in so much trouble out there in Texas, because he was taught by fundamentalism. Basically, understanding this, we realize that it's not a real fire that comes to destroy the earth. It is spirit which comes down from the fourth stage of consciousness to destroy all of those things which are hurting you, which are scaring you, which are frightening you, which are making you sick. And so it becomes a very, very beautiful thing. And so it says in Thessalonians, we who remain, and that means remain steadfast in your meditation, will be caught up to meet the Lord in the air. You will rise to the third stage of consciousness. So let's explore this for just a minute and see it and understand what it's talking about and see how easy it is for you to have the exact same experience. In other words, we will prove this, okay? Let's take a look at page 949 and just leave your finger where you're at there. Well, whatever. Page 949, and in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Let's take a look at somebody who had this kind of an experience that you can have here, you can have at home, you can have anywhere. But this is a real life experience. It is something that will happen to you. It is not something that you can create, but it is something that will occur within you. And it will separate you from all of this bedlam that passes off as our social and our culture. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2, the Apostle Paul says, I know a man talking of himself in Christ 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell or whether out of the body I cannot tell. Well, later he came to the conclusion that he had an out-of-body experience. As the Apostle Paul said, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. He had an out-of-body experience. But look what he says. Such a one was caught up to the third heaven. The third heaven is when you rise above that which is truth, the second stage, into that where there is no thought. When you separate totally from thought, you have this out-of-body, if you would, experience, and you then are in this place called air. But that's the third heaven, and you see that the Apostle Paul says he was transported there in this particular thing that had occurred to him, this vision that occurred to him. Now, taking that, let's go and look at the construction of the temple. And this is very important too, because remember, as the Bible teaches us, God lives in a temple that's not built with hands. And the only temple not built with hands is located to the side of your head. Okay? And that's the temple we're talking about. That's where the creative power of the universe dwells, deep within you. All right, let's look at page 296. And in page 296, you look at 1 Kings chapter 6 and verse 8. And there we're going to look at the construction of the temple. First thing I want to show you about the temple is in 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 7. When it was built of stone, there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was being built. What does that mean? It means it's built in silence. The temple must be built in silence. The temple must be built in the silence of meditation. There's another thing about the temple that's interesting. It says in the Bible that David could not build the temple because he was surrounded by wars on every side. The same things that infect the minds of me and you: constant warring, constant screaming, constant stress, constant pulling from the left and the right, wars on every side, and you can't build the temple that way. And so who was given the job to build the temple? Solomon. Solomon. Sol, which is Sol Invictus, which means the sun. Om, which is the measurement of the sun energy through the chakras, Om, and On, which is the name of the city of the sun near Memphis, Egypt. This whole thing means it can only be built by the sun, which is the energy from the solar plexus. And when you then meditate, the energy from the solar plexus rises, consumes the pineal gland, and builds the temple. Okay, so the temple must be built in silence. The temple must be built in absolute silence of meditation. Now look at 1 Kings 6:8. The door for the middle chamber, that's the holy place, that's the Holy of Holies, was in the right side of the house. Cast your net to the right side. The right side of the house is the right hemisphere of the brain. And the energy then that rises within you, the electrical energy, starts to stimulate nerve cells at the right hemisphere of the brain, and you start thinking with cells that have been dormant all of your life. You've used 10% of your brain. And that's why the Bible says that you've got to tithe. You give the 10% when you shut down the left side in meditation. And when you shut down the left side, then the right side opens up. The right side opens up, brain cells start to be activated at the right hemisphere of the brain. Okay? Now look what it says. It says, they went up with winding stairs. Winding stairs is that movement up, the energy that moves up the spine, which is the Kundalini. Okay? Can I help you?
Excuse me, everybody on Crown Victoria blocking the parking lot? You're not the only one on this parking lot.
Yeah, but don't make trouble there. Okay. Come back where we were. Okay. You know, there's an amazing. This is the nature of what we're talking about right here. And the nature of what we're talking about is when you yourself fail to perform, the first thing to do is to blame your iniquity on somebody else. So that's exactly that's why we've got to get out of this. And what happened there, that little thing, there's not just a point where in the interchange of thought between people we say, hey, could you please do this? There's always a comment, and there's always a fight that ensues after it. And that's the nature. And that's the nature. You take that little incident, and then you blow it up, and it goes between countries. And then people start lobbing bombs at one another, and it's the whole thing. There was an interesting thing in the newspaper this weekend. Yes?
A lot of people don't know that he's the person that owns it.
Yeah, he owns the property, and he didn't plow it properly, okay? And that's what caused this problem. But you see, in order for him to absolve himself, he has to blame it on somebody else. And that's, but what I'm trying to get to you, this is the problem with life. There was an interesting thing in the newspaper this weekend, and it says that they're having meetings around in some of the churches for Christian unity, okay? And Christian unity is a very dangerous thing, because what it does is it totally eliminates 3/4 of the world. So the heck with them. We have to be united. And why do they have to be united? So they can be strong, and so they can be aggressive, and so they can fight. And so you'll have the Christians united here, and the Muslims united here, and the Buddhists are united here, and the Hindu, and they're all lobbing shells at one another, you know, instead of there being a prayer, which has to be the prayer of the universe, for unity among all things, all living things, all life, all things that are part of nature. So anyhow, getting back to where we were interrupted. As you remember, Paul ascended to the third heaven. And if you look at 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 8, the door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house. They went up with winding stairs, which is Kundalini, into the middle chamber, which is the right side, and out of the middle chamber into the third. Do you see that third? And that is the third heaven. That's that place which you rise to when you go into meditation. When you go into meditation and you separate from the thoughts of the mind, you are rising into the very same place that Paul rose to in his description. The inner force brings you to that right side. Now it says if you go back to page 67, and this is the part in Exodus chapter 23. It says in page 67, Exodus chapter 23, in verse 20, to bring you to the place which I have prepared. That's the point. That's the point. I don't know. I have no idea what goes on in your life. I have no idea what type of problems are involved with your family members, with things of health, with things of conflicts of money, or just with things of helping raise children, or whatever goes on. What goes on in your family, the things where people scream at one another and throw things at one another and march out of the house, and all of the things that turn into the chaos which hurt us so deeply. Here, there is a place that is prepared for you. And however old you may be, you haven't the slightest idea that it exists. And the beautiful part is, this place is within you. It's closer than your breath. It doesn't cost you anything to get there. You don't have to learn any Bible lessons. You don't have to join any New Age clubs or read any New Age magazines or go anywhere in order to touch this place which has been prepared. There is an angel. There is an impulse which is tugging you to come to this place. It is prepared for you. It is a highway. It is a way above all of this lunacy which we have subjected the planet Earth to. I mean, how long have you been alive on the earth? What in God's name have we ever done good to this thing? It is the most magnificent jewel in the middle of the cosmos, and we who are human beings have come and raped it and pillaged it and bombed it into almost oblivion. Polluted it, done everything possible to it, tortured its animals, degraded its women, done all of these things, and most of the time we've done it in the name of God. Because God told us to do it. Anyway, that people want to justify violence, they say God told them to do it. I can show you in this Bible where God's chosen leader, Moses, actually instructed his soldiers to go into the town, kill all of the little men children, in other words, kill all the little boys, take all of the little girl children, and hold the ones that are virgins for yourself and kill the rest. That's God's chosen people. And so then you wonder, when you take kids and you put them into Sunday school and you teach them this kind of stuff, and you wonder, well, we have attitudes like you saw here a moment ago, where we just can't say, hey, could you help me out with this, but we got to put a dig into somebody. And that's the nature of the way we've been brought up and the competitive way we've learned. So the place that has been prepared for you, as it says in the construction of the temple that you just read, is at the right side of the house. Cast your net to the right side of the house. It is your creative side. The Beethovens and the Da Vincis and all of these people flourished out of the right hemisphere of the brain because it's the creative side. It is the place where God dwells. It says in Psalm 80:15, the vineyard which you have planted with your right hand. Jesus says, cast your net to the right side and you'll find. What was he, the Blackstone, the magician? He's going to make him catch fish? He's talking about casting your energy to the right hemisphere of the brain and you find life. You'll find the solution for your problem. But and you can't tell me that you don't unless you do it. And what is it? What does it require of us? Just being still. The most difficult thing in the world, to shut up. I know it's for me. Just to stop and allow yourself that time of absolute quiet. Because what you have done since the last time you've meditated, you know what you've done? You've gotten a little older. You've run a little less time left. That's all you've done. And let's take a look at each one of us sitting here in this room. How old are you? Don't tell me. No, don't tell me. I'm not interested to know how old you are. What have you accomplished? You had kids. I got dogs that have kids. Well, they have kids. Puppies are kids. What have we accomplished? You know what? Take a look at our country. So we'll just take it on a national level, what we have accomplished. And you know what? All the wars we fought in. All the people we've killed. All the countries we've bombed. All the places we've devastated. Oh, what have we done? What have we accomplished? But what are we supposed to accomplish? We're supposed to come into a harmony with all life and a harmony with all of nature. And this planet Earth is supposed to be the planet heaven, not the planet hell. Yes?
Bill, everything you've been saying, I went back to a verse that I loved a long time ago. Isaiah 35 from 8 to 10.
Yeah.
What okay. And a highway shall be there, and a way, and it shall be called the way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it shall be for those, the wayfaring men, though fools, shall not err therein. No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast shall go thereon. It shall not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there. And the ransomed of the Lord shall return and come to Zion with songs and everlasting joy upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away.
That's right. And basically, in very religious and spiritual words, it's saying when you touch that highway within yourself, it chases away all of that stuff which has made your life so difficult and made you so sick and made you so miserable. But you know what? It is so hard to get that into anybody's head to the point. Well, but let me just show you, because I'm talking. Let me just show you what this is. There is a pull on your life. Now, this angel inside of you, and you have one inside of you, which is an electrical impulse which is pulling you or trying to tell you this. Go to page 67, Exodus chapter 23, verse 21. Look what it says. It's talking about this angel. Beware of him. Why would you have to beware of an angel? Because it's an electrical force. It's a power. Here's this electricity. Isn't this nice? It lights the whole room. It cools the room. It heats the room. It makes music. Electricity does all this stuff. But beware of it. Huh? You know what I'm telling you? Beware of it. You know what happens if I get my hands on this? This place burns down like that. Because I don't understand it. I don't understand the power of electricity. Look, we got a nuclear plant 2 blocks down the road here. Everybody's house lights up. It's wonderful. Even the fish light up. Dogs, everybody lights up. It's wonderful. You know what I'm saying to you? It's great, but beware of it. You get it in the hands of the wrong people, what happens? Wipes people out by the millions. And so what's being said here is there's a power inside of you. Understand it. Look what it says. Obey his voice. In other words, yield to that feeling that's inside of you. Your Tuesday night comes and you have a tug at you. On the right side is the angel saying, go down to the meditation. On the left side is the voice of the couch saying, lie on me. Put your head on my pillow. And guess who wins? Obey. Now look what it says here. Provoke him not. This is a tremendous warning to religion. Religion that accuses the sinner angel of being demonic. You know what they always say to you? Don't go into that meditation. You'll open your mind to demons. This is bizarre. These are grown, intelligent people that believe that. And they're filled with all of these demonic thoughts constantly, and they're warning you about not going into meditation. So it says, do not provoke him. Remember, the way is narrow and few there find. And if you turn your back on this angel, there ain't nothing anybody can do. Because you turn your back on this angel, you're walking right smack into the arms of the system. And this system is violent and hurtful. But now the wonderful promise, and I want all of you who are here to listen very carefully to what will happen to you, what will happen to your children, what will happen to your life if you follow this inner pathway of meditation. Look what Exodus 23, verse 22. If you will indeed obey his voice, that angel, and do what I tell you, then I will be an enemy unto your enemies and an adversary unto your adversaries. What's against you? What problem do you have? If you listen to that pull that is within you to come within, to plug in, to find that pineal, to plug into that message that's coming down from Orion and Arcturus, you plug into that, and there's the point. I'll be the enemy against that which is your enemy. Just think for a minute. What is it that's hurting you? You need a force, you need a power inside of you to turn it around. And there's the promise. If you just do this, then I'll be the enemy against your enemies. I'll be the adversary against your adversaries. In Exodus 23, verse 23, it says, the angel goes before you to cut off the Hittites and the Amorites. That's the enemies of Israel. The Hittites and the Amorites are the enemies of Israel. And Israel is Isis, Ra, and El. Israel is spirit, mind, the power. The enemy that comes against Israel means the enemy that comes against this inner harmony within you. And the enemy that comes within this inner harmony is the system, the intellect, religion. Religion. And it says in Exodus 23:24, you shall not bow down to your gods, to their gods. Don't serve them. Don't do what they want you to do. In other words, what I'm telling you right now, you want to save your kids? you want to save your family? You want to save the animals? You want to save the environment? Then cut yourself off from religion entirely. There's nothing more evil or nothing more violent on the face of the earth. Because they are in business for one thing, to control, to frighten. And you don't need to be controlled. And you don't need to be frightened. I don't want to control you. There are no members in this church. You're to find that which controls you from within. Now, how important is this? It says in Exodus 23:25, you shall serve the Lord your God. Now, who is the Lord? What did it say in the very beginning of the Ten Commandments? What's the Lord's name? I am. And what's the word am mean? The word am is not a word. It is the present tense single. It is the single eye, and it is the pineal gland of the brain, and Jesus says if your eye be single, your body will fill with light. And the scientists say if you stimulate the pineal gland, your body will fill with melatonin, which is a skin lightener. How important is it? And now what will it do? It says in Exodus 23:25, I'll bless your bread and I'll bless your water, which means I'll give you understanding and truth. And look at the next one. Look at the next one. And I will take sickness away from the midst of you. How? By getting some fool to put his hand on your head? No. By reading something? No. By following the inner angel. There's a guy named Rich Hay who supports this church. Doesn't get here too often, but whenever he comes, Rich flies these big 747s for United Airlines, and he says, Bill, when I come into Kennedy Airport, I can't see anything. I don't even know where I am. You can't see a thing. There's just, I got 300 people sitting there drinking cocktails. I don't know where the heck I am driving this thing. But you know, you know what I do? I turn to the beacon, and there it goes, beep, 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 beep. As soon as I get it in center, I just follow that beacon, and all of a sudden, the clouds break apart, and I'm right on the runway, right where I should be. It takes me there, and it brings me there, and it puts me down right where I should be. That's where you should be. That's where your kids should be. I'll take away sickness. How important is it? How can it possibly take sickness away? Well, read the books. Read the scientists. What do they say melatonin does? And melatonin can kill cancer cells. What else can it do? Make you younger. Do all of these things. So there's a real logical way that this works when you go into meditation. And Exodus 23:26 says, there shall be nothing cast there young, which means the newness of life, you will be fulfilled. Now, here is probably the first time that you've seen a commitment that will come to you by following the inner pathway. In Exodus 23:27, I will send my fear before you. You know what that means? That fear is the power of love that others fear. It is the power of good that destroys the evil that comes against you. And you know what happens? Watch what happens. Once you start talking the way I'm talking to your friends, they freak. They're scared to death of you. You better stay away from him. I wouldn't get too close to that guy. That guy scares me. They're scared to death because you're talking about the real thing. They sit in church and they say, come Holy Ghost, come into our presence. And if the Holy Ghost comes in here, they run like hell after that. Ah! To read about it's okay. Sing about it's okay. But I don't want it to be true. I don't want to get too involved. I don't want to get involved. I do this for a living. I got my Social Security, my Blue Cross. I'm a pastor. I don't want to get involved with all this. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now, we're almost done with this, okay? That's right. Look. Okay. Look at 27. Look what it says in verse 27. I will send and I will destroy all the people to whom you shall come. I will make all of your enemies turn their backs unto you. And your enemies are your thoughts. And your enemies are the thoughts that your kids have. And your enemies are the things that come against you. And here's the promise, and it just changed. And it does it. It does it because it changes the mind. I will make your enemies turn. But now here's the problem. And this is where we wrap it up. And you hear many people come in and say, well, I didn't get anything out of this meditation. I sit here and the screwy things that go boop, 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 and all this stuff. It's too loud. The music's too loud. It's not loud enough. I heard this guy sneeze there the other night. I mean, it's ridiculous. Some guy was snoring. I'm never going back there. All this kind of crap. All of these excuses, they take the place of the couch. See? We don't need the couch tonight for an excuse because somebody snored 3 weeks ago, and we'll have no part of that. So we're going to stay home. I'll show them. I won't go. So that's what we do. See? Now look. How long does it take? How do you have to discipline yourself to this? Please stay with me. I promise you I'm done in 5 minutes. We're out of here, okay? Please stay with me. Exodus chapter 23, verse 29. These are your thoughts. I will not drive them out from you in 1 year, lest the land becomes desolate and the beasts of the field multiply. In other words, this is your whole life. You've depended on this chaos in your head. In fact, you know what many of us do? We entertain ourselves with this. I'm a prime example. I don't have anything to worry about. I'll make up something to worry about. I'll get something to worry about, all right? I can't stand this. What am I going to do? I'll worry about something. And we create these things. This is our entertainment. This is our fun. We got to be able to talk to somebody about something, and most of us have nothing to talk about because we never did a damn thing. And so we'll think of something chaotic, and we'll go, what do you think I should do? What should I do? I don't know what to do. Oh, Jesus. Okay. In other words, you would go into shock if suddenly all of this lunacy were gone out of your head. And so what does it say? Look at the next line, 23:29. Lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field multiply. Your mind is a thin line. Let me tell you something, folks. And you can look at me and you know this. There is a thin line between spirituality and insanity. There really is. It's a very thin line. Some people think you're absolutely crazy when you talk about the things we talk about. And at the other hand, there's another side of the line when you are absolutely crazy. But I mean, you know, I can't get involved in that. Here it says, it is very dangerous to try techniques, and that's why I'm against techniques. How wonderful it is to simply wait. And this is where you get in trouble when you find a lot of meditation instructions. And a lot of you read books about how to meditate, and a lot of you go to places for people to teach you how to meditate, and you should not. And the reason you should not is you should simply wait, and God, the supreme power of the universe, will come and take you. And you will learn your way. Because remember, I can teach you how to meditate my way, but my way is not necessarily your way. And my way could lead you away from the path that you should follow. What you've been simply asked to do is wait, and God will take you your way. To try to force the mind can make the fears, the beasts of the fields, worse. Just wait. Now watch this, 23:30. Little by little I will drive them out before you until you be increased and inherit the land. Are you willing to wait? Are you willing to come and inch by inch by inch? Every little meditation, every little thought, little by little, it's cleansed. That's why I have asked you to be persistent and to come, or to do your meditation, but be persistent. And little by little, this stuff is driven away. Little by little, you become stronger. Little by little, your fears become weaker. Little by little, your mind becomes yours and not the system. And little by little, you are a strength and a lighthouse to your children. And little by little, you are a strength and a lighthouse to your community. And then it says in 23:31, I will set the bounds. I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. Your mind. And it says in 32, make no covenant with them and with their gods, and they shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare for you, and it always has been. and your nervous breakdowns and your Valium and all of this stuff is all part and parcel of all of the guilt and all of the fear and all of the horror that you were taught as a kid. And all of the things that they took you into Sunday school and told you about a God who couldn't forgive to you unless he slaughters people, and about a God who would send you to heaven or hell and demons, and all of this stuff is part and parcel of the things that have been a snare for you. And many people have wound up in mental institutions or at psychiatrist's office because of all of this fear and guilt. It will surely be a snare for you. But boy, we learned some stuff, and you've got some promises that came to you. There is an angel on your shoulder. There is an angle of electricity coming down from the white horse Pegasus. There's an angle of electricity coming down from Aquarius. There's an angle of electricity coming down from the Christ, and it's touching each one of you. And that promise is, man, just plug into it. And just like Rich Hay in his 747, it'll cut you right through the clouds and bring you right down to the runway where you should be. And it'll change things, and it'll take the sickness out of you, and it'll drive all the crap that has hurt you out of your life. And the good part is you don't join anything, you don't pay anything, you don't go anywhere, you don't read anything, you just give a commitment to yourself. Watch yourself. Be the shepherd watching the sheep within yourself, and then you'll be brought to the place where the Christ is born, where the child of promise is born within you. Cast your net to the right side, and you shall find. Be one with this universal wonder that is encasing the universe today. Flow in the harmony with nature for your children's sake, for your sake, for the sake of all life on this planet. And don't pray for Christian unity or New Age unity. Just pray for the unity of all life, that all life may be fulfilled as the Lord Jesus prayed. I pray they all may be one, not Christians or Jews. They all may be one. Be one with a little Cocker Spaniel. Be one with somebody in Iran. Be one with the whole beautiful earth. Be one with the stars and the comets and all of the wonders of the universe. Be one and flow in a harmony with it. And all it requires you to do is simply sit still, and little by little your antenna, do you ever see those rotors on tops of the houses they used to have? Little by little your antenna will turn away from the left, away from the west, over to the right, over to the east, and then all of a sudden, a little snowy at first, but then you'll start to pick up a signal that says, beep, 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 I gotcha. Welcome home. Welcome home. And just like the little ET, you can raise your finger right up that line, and another finger will come and touch yours, and you'll hear that word deep within your heart that says, home, home. And you'll know you've arrived. But it's up to you. Okay, thank you. And